understanding is that essentially a sinkhole developed underneath this massive toxic waste site from the phosphate mining. At the same time that company is seeking another major permit to actually expand its mining. And in fact, there was supposed to be a hearing on that permit, which I understand was canceled because the company realized that the public gets now what it means to have this expanding industry. This is why, and let me just be clear, that hundreds of millions of gallons of this toxic waste have now poured into the aquifer that provides the drinking water. This is, this is pretty catastrophic, and it's going to be tough to deal with. But above all, as a first measure, we need to ensure that this dangerous industry is not expanded. And then we need to begin phasing it out and cleaning it up. Because in fact, the phosphate, as I understand it, is largely used for fertilizer. Well, what other problems do we have from fertilizer? Fertilizer is actually running off into our major water bodies all over the world and killing them, rendering them dead zones basically, and contributing to the crisis right now in our oceans as well as in our fresh water, as well as in aquifers around the country as well. In our Green New Deal, we call for not only 100% clean renewable energy and the jobs, the emergency jobs to make that transition. We also call for an emergency transition to a sustainable food system, which means that we no longer need to be creating these toxic waste sites and poisoning our water with phosphate. So this is part of a very broad transition, which unfortunately we must undertake on an emergency basis so that we're protecting our water supplies. At the same time, they are shrinking and they are put at risk not only from phosphate mining, but from fracking and from pesticide runoff and from climate change and global warming. We have a massive water crisis around the world, and we need to stand up and defend our water, to defend our oceans, to defend the economy of Florida, which ultimately depends on preserving the ecosystems here and the beauty of Florida, which is really the basis of the tourist economy here.